Hello there, sorry from 17 once again. This is my Bayonetta hard pure platinum run. This is chapter 14, Isla del Sol, and if you have a disposition towards watching spinny things, if you suffer from motion sickness, or just don't really enjoy headaches, then this video might not be for you. As when you press evade on this level, it does a pirouette, which does give you some iframes, but you can get caught coming out of the animation. I actually tried just spamming the evade to get through this entire level to get the rank, and it didn't work. I had to play it. I don't like this level. I love the boss fight, I hate the level. I personally think that the grading system should only be on the fights on top of the rockets and maybe against the bosses, because I've never really been the biggest Space Harrier guy, I'm not really the biggest Afterburner guy, and doing this kind of stuff without getting hit is not that hard actually, but what makes it frustrating is there's no checkpoint. There's no checkpoint until you beat the verses, which is the same in every verse. It's just this one is a little bit more exacerbated by the fact that you spent the entire game fighting, and on this it throws you in an impromptu, shooting game. And the irony here is, I love shooting games, I am a shmup fan, but I like a very particular type of shooting game, and it isn't the one where my rocket is so fat I can't see directly in front of me unless I'm moving constantly. I like the ones where they're top down, the vertical, or the horrors. I don't like these kind, because the only decent one like this in my opinion is Lilac Wars, and a lot of people look at that game as like a bit of a flop. But I just wish that the camera would pull back and make it like a vertical shooter, because then you could actually enjoy dodging the bullets instead of getting hit by the ones you couldn't see because of your massive ass. But strategy here, for anybody wanting to do this, you need to learn the patterns, you need to learn the ones that are difficult. For instance, when the decorations go past the side of the screen, I spam evade because they fire from off screen at you, and it's just bullshit. This dude here, if you just stay where you are shooting and evade as the bullets get to you, you will destroy him and then evade through his bullets. And just bear in mind you can fire those magic wicked weave fists by pressing a specific button to use your magic. And you want to use your magic on whatever you're not comfortable with killing, or whenever you want to kill things quicker than you're able to do so with the cannon. Something worth noting, if you're a button masher and you quite like tapping buttons fast, you can shoot faster than holding the normal traditional fire, and it will give you more damage, more DPS, but I don't do that, I'm not interested in that at all. And then here is the first fight of the verse. Only thing to bear in mind here is that the enemies have been gazed, just in case I need the extra style points. I don't want to have to redo this mission, so I made sure to kill them, get my combo up, do some torture attacks, and gaze them. So, knowing the positions, preemptively firing, lining them up Gallagher style, all very important strategies here. If you're good at these kind of shooters, you can probably do this without having to avoid with the dodge. But I'm not, and I think this level's too long. I think it's, about 10 minutes too long each section. And if they'd have put a couple checkpoints in, maybe before the bosses or something, it might have been perfectly fine. But as it stands, it's tricky. And it makes it one of the tougher levels because of that. So, here is Fortitudo. This is what we're saving our magic for. You can either shoot while circling him to evade his bullets, or you can just dodge through them like I'm doing now. Whenever he fires the fireballs, if he does so, you can actually get witch time off those. So you want to try and get the witch time, and then shoot the fireball back at him, and then hit him with all your magic fists. And just be aware that whenever he moves, he's going to attack, and if you get cheekily hit, you have to do the entire 4 minutes of gameplay again. And a lot of people with more patience than me might think, well, 4 minutes is not that big of a deal. But I hate stuff like that. I hate having to restart. I'm not that kind of player. But there goes Fortitudo, there is your first rank. Just pray you get the combo points, because if you don't, you're going to be really upset. And then here comes the second verse. So this one is easier than the first one. Or I managed to get the pure platinum quicker anyhow. The first one kept catching me out. And I really like these guys. If it was nothing but these dudes, I'd really like this section, because you can just get witch time off them and enjoy killing them. And it's fun. But it isn't, unfortunately. It goes back to the green blobs of doom, and and all the decorations and shit. But at the end of this is perhaps one of the hardest fights in the game. And I read a comment today of somebody essentially arguing the fact that he used to like this game but doesn't really anymore because you can button mash your way through it, which I always find an interesting perspective, because just because you can button mash your way through something doesn't devalue its quality. That's more you than anything else. It's on you, that. And there are parts of this game where you can't button mash to get through it, so what he's saying is fundamentally wrong. But it's not the fact that that's his opinion, it's the fact that when I quizzed him on it, he then went on to say that you can't button mash through any game, yet the foundation of his point was that you can button mash your way through this game. So, you know, sometimes you come up against a logic that's just flawed, and those are the conversations that I try to avoid. But what I would have, you know, elucidated should I have indulged this person, but unfortunately I've got too much stuff to do to indulge everybody that wants to, you know, get, like, I don't even think it's hypocritical, I just think it's foolish. But you can button your mash your way through every game ever made. It's true. You can button mash your way through the action genre significantly more competently than you ever will the other ones, because they're designed that way. But just because you can button mash on a beat 'em up doesn't mean you're going to be able to beat Daigo. You know, that's just not how it works. Anybody who understands the systems and knows how to play will always beat somebody just mashing the buttons. You know, you will never get the best ranks by just mashing buttons, because what will happen is you'll just get hit, or you'll not get high enough stylish points. You know, God of War, you can mash your way through that entire game. It's easy. But on the harder difficulties, mashing is going to be significantly harder to do, but you could do it if you had that kind of, you know, persistence. Ninja Gaiden, incredibly difficult game, but you can mash your way through it. Even on Master Ninja, if you try hard enough, you can mash your way through that game. Will you die a lot? Hell yes. Will it be annoying? Hell yes. Will you hate yourself? Yeah, you should. But you can do it. Does that mean you should? No. You know, Dynasty Warriors are games meant to mash. If you're the type of person that likes bashing one button on a game that has, you know, detailed and complex fighting systems, why are you even bothering? Why not go outside and dig a hole? You know, why not hammer a nail with your forehead? If you just like repeatedly doing, you know, boring, tedious actions repetitively, you can do it elsewhere. Why lower the quality of a title like this to the shit that is the Warrior series? Because the only thing those games even remotely have going for them is the strategy of taking over certain positions on a map so that you can win through, you know, sheer attrition. Everything else is just mash, and there are people who love that, and that's fine. But Bayonetta, you know, and many other games aren't that. Does that mean that those strategies don't work? Hell no, they do. You know, when I was younger, I mashed my way through almost every beat 'em up I ever played. You know, I mashed my way through Devil May Cry. I mashed my way through everything, because that's, you know, what you do before you realise that there's more to games than just bashing, holding your breath and hoping you win. And it's just, it's really strange, the internet. It hooks you up with perspectives from all over the place. Some good, some bad, some just indifferent. And there's nothing much you can do on a public forum like YouTube than just either ignore them or just be like, this is literally so fucking stupid, my brain cells are dying just by reading this sentence. I try to make light of it as much as I can, because if you don't, you'll just go insane. You know, for every 5 great, awesome, interactive comments I get one that just makes me want to scratch through my skull into my brain and end it all. Because it just doesn't make any sense. But here is Temperance. Temperance is pretty simple stuff at this point. He's a little trickier for his eye lasers than Fortitudo, but as soon as you see him glow, just start spamming evade, and if you do get caught, I feel for you, because I did as well, but you should be fine. Once again, you need to be aware that if you do get touched here, you have to play the entire verse again. It's one of the trickier checkpoints in the game for the lack of said checkpoints. But it does have some pretty funky music, I'll give it that much. And I believe you can change the music on these sequences like you can on the driving ones. But here comes the laser. Either goes horizontally or vertically. Dodging it There's times when I could have swear I've dodged it precisely and still got hit, so I prefer to get a little bit trigger happy to dodge it, just to be safe. And apparently there's a crazy thing where if you kill every single enemy and don't get hit on these two verses, you get 1,000,000 halos. It's like a reference to those old school those old school shooters. And I don't think anybody's probably done that, and I wouldn't even bother myself. Like, not my idea of fun, that. But there's bound to be somebody out there who's done it. There's somebody who's done everything. And that's the thing, as a game developer, you can never patronise your audience. Because the moment you think you've made something that nobody can beat, 1,000,000 people beat it. And it's just the bizarre nature of games. There's always those crazy people. But here is one of the hardest fights in the game. This is a multi-stage Jean fight. That right there is her Phantasmagoria monster thing. And you can get witch time off it. You can get witch time off the Wicked Weaves, you can get witch time off the Infernal Demons. That's about it. The only other the only other witch time you can activate is through a parry. Parrying Jean is really good, but it's also really tricky to do. And occasionally I would go for it, but then I'd just mess up a ton. So at this point, I'm just in serious mode with Killgore on the feet, Sharaba on the hands. And right there, during this sequence, if you get touched, it doesn't matter. As soon as the building starts falling, you're having complete immunity, and you need it because you can't see what's happening. But there's no checkpoint yet, guys. You need to get to the next stage of this fight before you get a checkpoint. If you get hit now, you'll go back to the beginning of the previous phase. So watch out for the Wicked Weaves, watch out because she will now use Panther Form, and watch out for those bullshit missiles, man. That quick time event is more predictive than reactive, and I really don't think it's a good idea. But throw the missiles back. Watch her now. This is when she's at her most dangerous, when she's sprinting towards you in Panther mode. There goes the obligatory Wicked Weaves. Dodge them, get the witch time, and punish her with the 4-hit to kick combo to do some big damage. If you want to use the Killgore swap, there's your checkpoint, by the way. You will probably beat each phase in one activation of witch time because Killgore does so much damage. But that's not really what this run's about, so we're not using it. So, on this moment, as awesome as it looks, it's kind of hard to fight because the camera's going mad. And when you watch it back, it doesn't look so bad, but when you're focusing on the fight, any little distraction can prove massive in the heat of battle. So it definitely takes some acclimatizing to this particular stage. So there was a parry there. It wasn't perfect, but it was a guard at least. There was a perfect guard. The only problem when you do it on her dive kick is that it knocks her into the air, so you have to do the aerial version of the combo that we're using. And there's nothing wrong with the aerial version, it's just easier to miss. So no checkpoint yet, folks. Stay patient, don't get hit sloppily. Try and keep your multiplier if you can, but in this part of the fight, it's not as important as the final phase. The final phase is the one where you're going to get the majority of your score, unless you're constantly holding a combo by shooting her or doing the dodge offset moves, which I don't really do the dodge offset too much when I'm close to Jean because I get hit, and it's kind of not the point. But I generally evade the counters instead of doing them because I can't win them. Some of the quick time events on hard are so intensive on tapping, and I'm just not a very good tapper, so I just completely avoid them. It reminds me of God Hand in that regard. There are just taps on that game where, unless you have a turbo pad or an insane, world record on international track and field, there's just no point, because they will beat you all the time. And the only thing that happens then is you stress your hands and you end up smashing your pads. But here is the final phase. This took a while, this guy. She's really hard. I beat it about 5 times and I kept on fucking the score up. I kept on getting gold. So I was super tempted to just use the Bangle of Time to exploit my witch points at this moment, use my magic and just smash her, build my combo and do it like that. But the problem with it is I kind of felt bad for doing it. I don't know why. It's in the game, it's perfectly legit, but I wanted just a balls to the wall fight against her. And in the end, I ended up using the Bangle of Time on the final life bar. But what happened is I died on a QuickTime event, and the game saved it, and I didn't realise. So what it counts it as is it counts it as using an item. It puts a skull next to items used. So instead, in spite of me getting pure platinum on this entire verse, it defaulted me to platinum, and I had to do the entire fight again, which I was a little bit pissed off about, but luckily enough I managed to get it in about 15 minutes, so I'd obviously improved. Oh, I'm using the bangle right there. Oh no, I'm not, that's just standard witch time. But I had a really good fight against her. It was back and forth, super intense, super frenetic, super cool, like the best thing you've ever seen from me on Bayonetta. And then the rank was a silver or something shit, and it's just like, oh come on, that looked amazing, but apparently not stylish enough. Be careful, whenever she's on a different ceiling to you, she can do dive kicks that come out of nowhere. You don't have to be looking at her for her to do them. And she'll just hit you and you're like, yeah, good luck, fuck you, hope you weren't enjoying that, boom, see you later, goodbye. So bad. It doesn't happen often, but it happens enough to be, you know, aware of it. Whenever she's on a different surface, suddenly she just attacks out of nowhere, and it happens, you know, it does. But there you go, there's the pure platinum. It's a fun level when you're fighting Jean. It's not so fun when you're flying on the rocket, but definitely one of the trickiest levels so far. So thank you very much for watching, and you take care.